dear viewers, and welcome to our daily debate. I'm Mahisi Rabia. In today's edition, we are talking about the visit by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to Europe. President Sisi started with visiting Denmark, then Norway, and today he arrived in Dublin. Indeed, we'll start with our top stories, where President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi arrived in Ireland on Tuesday, the third and final leg of his European tour that included stops in Denmark and Norway. Presidential spokesman Mohammed Shinawi said the head of state is scheduled to hold talks with the Irish president and prime minister in the Irish capital, Dublin. The spokesman added that the meetings would tackle means to enhance bilateral cooperation and coordination, and that is regarding a number of regional and international crises and issues of common concern. Before departing Norway, President Sisi met with the CEO of the Norwegian company Skatek and the CEO of the Norwegian Investment Fund for Developing Countries and the CEO of the Norwegian company Yara for talks that centered on ambitious economic development program implemented by Egypt. In Egypt, and expressed its keenness to be centered to green energy in the Middle East region. The president also asserted Egypt's keen interest to be centered to the green energy in the region. And moving on from the visit by President Sisi to Europe to the recent development in Egypt, where Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli conducted an inspection tour in Port Said Governorate of a number of industrial, developmental and services projects. The tour included visiting work and production sites in the industrial sector, which is the driving force of the economy. Speaking at a press conference after the tour, the Prime Minister stressed that his visit comes as a continuation of a series of field tours in various governorates to monitor the progress of services and developmental projects. The industrial sector contributes to enhancing growth rate, increasing job opportunities, and it also gains advantages in Port Said due to its proximity to export ports. The Prime Minister visited the Badr city and inspected the progress of the Egypt-Saudi Arabia electricity interconnection project. The Egyptian-Saudi electricity intercontinental project is a groundbreaking initiative designed to enhance the stability and reliability of both countries' power networks. And back to our main topic for today's debate, which is the current visit by President Sisi to Europe. And to shed more light, we are having the following report.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi continues his European tour, which includes stops in Denmark, Norway and Ireland, which is aimed at enhancing cooperation and coordination between Egypt and these three European countries. In the Irish capital, President al-Sisi holds talks with its President and Prime Minister to review available opportunities to enhance bilateral cooperation and coordinating positions regarding a number of international crises and issues of mutual interest. Before departing Norway, President al-Sisi held meetings with heads of Skatek and Empower companies on Tuesday. Earlier, the President met with King Harald V in the presence of the Norwegian Crown Prince and held talks with the Prime Minister as well as several lawmakers. He attended an unofficial tea party hosted by the Prime Minister in the presence of the Foreign Minister and Counselor of Prime Minister, as well as Norway's ambassador in Cairo and Egypt's Ministers of Foreign Affairs and Trade and Investment. Moreover, the President met with chairpersons of several companies operating in Egypt and major economic and investment funds in the Scandinavian country in the presence of the Crown Prince and the Minister of International Development. The President also met with the Norwegian head of parliament and its members, during which they probed parliamentarian ties and means to enhance ties in all fields, including investment, climate change and combating terrorism. Furthermore, he witnessed the signing of cooperation agreements between the two countries. Norway visit is the second leg of President al-Sisi's European tour, which started on Saturday With a visit to Copenhagen, Denmark, where the head of state met with His Majesty the King of Denmark, the Prime Minister and the Speaker of the Danish Parliament. Meetings also witnessed a consensus on the importance of bolstering Egyptian-Danish ties at all levels, and discussions confirmed the two sides' mutual keenness to coordinate on regional and international issues in order to achieve their common goal. President Sisi indicated a common understanding to advance bilateral ties in political, economic, investment and cultural fields. Furthermore, he added the joint declaration would significantly advance cooperation between Egypt and Denmark in a wide range of sectors, primarily maritime transport, energy and green transition, health and scientific research, investment, agriculture, tourism, communication and information technology. The President commended Denmark's understanding and support of Egypt's efforts to safeguard its water security, which represents a priority in light of the severe water scarcity. The President's discussions with Danish officials also encompassed a range of regional issues, including the situation in Syria, the Gaza war, Lebanon ceasefire, as well as the situation in Sudan, security of the Red Sea, and the Ukrainian crisis. During his stay in Denmark, President Sisi also participated in several economic functions and meetings with heads of Danish companies operating in Egypt, which culminated in the signing of a strategic partnership declaration between the two countries, along with several memoranda of understanding in various areas of cooperation.
Welcome back, our dear viewers. To shed more light on the visit by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to Europe, we are very much delighted to be joined here in the studio by our very dear guest, Dr. Batran, a political, economic and social studies expert. Thank you so much, Doctor, for being our guest for tonight.
It's a pleasure always. Thank you.
Doctor, very important tours that started by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's visit to Denmark, Norway, and today he arrived in Dublin. How do you see the significance of visiting these European countries?
This visit, I will start with Denmark. Denmark, it's the first visit by an Egyptian president ever. And it's a first visit that is meant to increase the bilateral cooperation to strategic ones. So this has been moved up, the relationships between us as two countries has been even moved up by this first time strong first time visit. So this is a very important point. This is building on the previous enhancement of Egyptian European with the European Union. Also the relationships that were also enhanced to strategic level. So this is another European stop with another strategic level relationship, and that all enhances the foresight of the Egyptian state to look at important countries, to enhance relationship regarding to renewable energy, green energy, transport, infrastructure, and this shows, and this is an enhancement as well of Egypt's economic empowerment, the empowerment of the private sector, the endorsement not only of the government but of the head of state.
Indeed. Also, Doctor, to what extent the visit for these three countries is enhancing Egypt's genuine desire to strengthen its political, economic, as well as its cultural relationship with these three countries?
The visit of His Excellency the President and his meeting with all heads of state and his meeting with all premiers of all countries, of all three countries, and the meeting of as well of the heads of parliament. So far he has met the head of the Norwegian parliament and Danish parliament as well. And so all of this, so he has really met with the head of the legislative, the head of the administrative and the head of state.
Yes.
Along with Crown Prince of Denmark, along with ministers of cooperation, of investment, of green energy. This really takes things to a deeper level of cooperation, a more serious level of our commitment as Egypt and the commitment of our European counterparts in looking at Egypt as an important market for them. The President also in all two countries, so the previous countries before Dublin, before Ireland, he also met with business people. He met with the business people first in Denmark. He met with, and he actually attended the Danish-Egyptian Business Council conference. And that is his endorsement as head of state to the business relationship, to enhance any and let's say smoothen out any issues relating to business in Egypt, investment in Egypt. He is giving really not only the green light but the golden light, I'll call it. The golden light, Egypt is there, Egypt is ready, Egypt is building on future, on previous relationships. Egypt is really looking forward to widen the scope and widen the scope of cooperation, not only with those three countries but with business people around the world.
Indeed.
And there were Egyptian businessmen from Denmark who already invested in Egypt and other companies who are looking to invest in Egypt as well.
Yes. Doctor, do you agree that the President's ongoing European tour is confirming our keenness to coordinate and to unify our efforts with these European countries on regional and international issues to achieve common goals of establishing regional and international security and stability amid all these challenges that our region is currently facing, unfortunately?
A sister country, Syria, has the state nearly, the head of state was toppled over, and so we have nearly a failed state in Syria, and this happened while our president was in Europe. And the fact that the region, we've got instability in Lebanon, we've got what happened and what is happening and continues to happen in Gaza as well, and with our neighbors from that side, and with our Libyan neighbors, with our Sudan neighbors, all of this is really, it gives a lot of concern, and a lot of emphasis on the farsightedness, the ability of our state in general, the state of Egypt headed by our president, to navigate in very deep, dark, turbulent waters and remain steadfast in terms of stability, and steadfast towards development, and steadfast in terms of attracting and building on regional investment and internal investment, building on the stability of our pound, and also committed to issues like anti-terrorism, immigration, illegal immigration from Africa to Europe, issues related to water security, issues related to, so all of this really is an integrated vision from our country, headed by our president, towards a more integrated internal approach, and also looking towards an international, again, integrated. Business is a component, but stability, counterterrorism, and illegal immigration is also always on the other side of the balance. So we're talking politics, stability, and we're talking economy. And fortunately, our president did not forget about culture. So culture has had also a fair share of his trip. Yesterday he had the dinner in the National Museum of Denmark with the Crown Prince, and so this again, it puts emphasis on the cultural impact of any bilateral relationship. It also, he met with, again, with local business people, Egyptian business people investing in Norway and vice versa, companies investing here in Egypt. And so all of this really is extremely important to give confidence, confidence to regular Egyptians, regular members of these states, regular citizens, regular European citizens looking at such movement. It gives also, and it projects the confidence and the confidence,
Yes.
I'll use the same word, of the heads of states over there with looking to impact or to enhance and have a real impact with the relationship in Egypt, taking into considerations that the changes are not only in the Middle East,
Yes.
but also on an international level.
Indeed.
Because we have a new president in the United States of America, President-elect Trump,
Yes.
with a totally different government,
Yes.
a disruptive government, a democratic government, a Democratic Party president to a Republican Party president, a younger, more technology edge to the outlook of the government as well. And this again will impact international politics.
Indeed, to a great extent. Doctor, still with our economic file, the President also invited the investors during his meetings with the heads of big companies as well as the heads of economic entities to establish projects in Egypt in sectors of mutual interest. How can such projects actually contribute to boost their investment in the country and to build more successful partnerships?
Egypt has committed in its 2030 plan and 2030 sustainability outlook to green energy, to renewable energy, and to conserving also water, to investment in hydrogen and liquefying hydrogen. And all of these have been various sectors that our president has looked at with the counterparts of the business in such areas. Also, the president has met with the heads of the African Norwegian Business Council, and this again emphasizes the impact of Egypt not only within or the impact of the Egyptian economy on an international level, and also the impact and the relationship that Egypt has with Africa, and collectively the common market that Egypt and Africa can present as an opportunity to the world.
Yes.
The fact that a Norwegian, African, Egyptian council was there on the table is an extremely important thing to give light on this important topic.
Yes.
Also, the fact that the president has met with so many heads of companies
Yes.
in such cutting-edge technologies for renewable energy,
Yes, indeed.
at the final aim to create Egypt as a hub for renewable energy in Africa and the world, really is not a goal of today. This is a goal that Egypt has been working on for the last 10 years. The infrastructure that is there in terms of hard physical infrastructure, the legislative infrastructure also that has been built in Egypt in the last nearly 10 years, and as well as the financial and monetary infrastructure that has also been created and stabilized within the last few years as well. And all of this has helped really to culminate and peak at this point of international cooperation at such cutting-edge technologies.
Yes. Doctor, actually, to what extent such projects and such partnerships have been aligned with our ambitious plans to become a regional hub for, as you mentioned, supply chain, for transport, for trade and renewable energy, leveraging the geographic proximity and the strategic location and the investment-friendly zones that we are having?
Egypt has worked very, very diligently on creating the best environment and economic ecosystem in the Canal of Suez economic zone. And this also has been built on a previous step. The first step, and I believe and I remember one of the first events that I attended was within this new regime was the inauguration of the Canal of Suez. So exactly 1 year after the first pushing forward of the starting point of the enhancement of the size and depth of the Canal of Suez. So 1 year later, we had the Canal of Suez, and from there we started building on the legislative, again, infrastructure, the allocation of the land for the free zone, and the marketing that the country has started on, culminating by the President's presence in such important international conferences, and ultimately bilateral visits to countries that no president has visited before. And all of this really, it shows that all of the work that the Egyptian people had to do in terms of our workers, engineers, legislators, politicians, all the work that we as an Egyptian population, and also the hardships that the Egyptian people had to endure in the building of their modern Egypt and of the new republic, the infrastructure of the new republic, really is paying off on an international level.
Yes. What were the main topics that were under discussion during President Sisi's visit and meetings with his counterparts of the two states, since he just arrived in Dublin today? How do you read the most important topics that the President did discuss with his counterparts there?
The bilateral relationships between Egypt, Norway, Denmark, and Ireland weren't at a level of that a lot of people in both countries would give credit for. But actually something really on a parallel side, but that for me as a lady was very interesting. Norway has Copenhagen, the Queen and the King and Queen of Denmark.
Yes.
They have a new queen, you know. They haven't been there on the throne for a year yet, and the Queen wore a new crown. The Queen looked at one of the old jewels that they had, and she reshaped a new crown, and she wore it for the first time in the state banquet with the Egyptian president. And that shows the importance of this banquet, because this banquet will remain not only in history as one of the first banquets between an Egyptian president and their Royal Highnesses or kings and queen of Denmark, but also as the first time that a queen has worn a certain jewel that belongs to the crown. Yes. So it will always relate, and it will always be mentioned with a dinner with the Egyptian. So this is another enhancement of the relationship on, like we mentioned, a cultural level. And I was also told and read in several newspapers that the celebrations receiving our president, the official guards of honor that were there to parade in front of His Excellency, were at the upper highest level of celebration, and on an official level. You know, anything has grades. This is the topmost level that they give to even a head of state. Again, because it is a strategic level, because it is an important thing, not only for Egypt, but for the Danish companies that are investing in Egypt, Danish companies that are building on their success in Egypt, new Danish companies being attracted to Egypt, and all of this will impact on the Egyptian economy and also on the size of, and have an impact on the size and of the Danish economy as well.
Indeed. Doctor, also the visit of the President to Norway and to Ireland. How do you see actually the choice of these three countries in particular, which were not visited by an Egyptian president?
The innovation, the innovative ecosystem of the countries that you're talking about, the levels of freedom, governance that are there to allow for the creativity of the economy and of looking to the future of these economies and of these countries really are the reason for all of this, because Egypt is looking into green economy and green energy, renewable energy, and all of these are topics in which these countries have the cutting edge in the world. We talked about transport, and again, these countries have the best fleets in the world and the best transport companies and storage companies, floating companies of maritime transport in the world. We are talking about also some food products. We are talking about certain types of food products, fish products. All of these are there within these countries. The know-how is there, and Egypt has also, and its president were also always emphasizing the importance of knowledge transfer. So the country, headed by its president, looked into the real source, the original source of the topics that are of interest to Egypt. And then, on a political level, these countries' position on the international table of politics have always been mostly parallel to our Egyptian point of view and our Egyptian position within issues of the region and issues related to the European situation and the world in general.
Indeed. Doctor will be taking this report about the President's visit to Europe. Egypt and the European Union have mutually agreed to elevate their relationship to the level of strategic and comprehensive partnership based on the values of equality and mutual respect and trust. More details.
Egypt and the European Union have mutually agreed to elevate their relationship to the level of strategic and comprehensive partnership based on the values of equity and mutual respect and trust. The two parties have reiterated their commitments to build on their long-standing relationship that was forged by close geographical, cultural, political, economic and people-to-people ties with the aim of deepening their shared stability, peace and prosperity. The European Union acknowledges Egypt as a reliable partner, as well as Egypt's unique and vital geostrategic role as a pillar of security, moderation and peace in the region of the Mediterranean, the Near East and Africa. Both parties recall their commitment to the principles enshrined in the United Nations Charter and other relevant multilateral agreements, as well as to the Association Agreement and the Egypt-EU Partnership Priorities 2021-2027. Accordingly, Egypt and the EU have decided to formulate and sign an inclusive document on the comprehensive and strategic partnership during the first quarter of 2024. The strategic partnership document clearly identifies specific areas of cooperation, namely political ties, macroeconomic stability, sustainable investment and trade, including energy, water, food security and climate change, migration, security and human capital development. The implementation of these areas should unleash the full potential of Egypt-EU ties. Egypt and the European Union will continue to work on building and implementing a positive agenda for shared prosperity and stability. They will also continue to work on their commitments to further promote democracy, fundamental freedoms and human rights. Regional and international challenges highlight the significance of enhancing political dialogue between the two sides by holding a summit once every 2 years, gathering the presidents of Egypt, the European Commission, European Council, alternately between Cairo and Brussels. This in addition to the annual Association Council, which constitutes the cornerstone of bilateral agreements and engagements in the framework of the Association Agreement.
And back to our dear guest in the studio, Dr. May. Doctor, how do you see actually the timing of the visit by President Sisi to these European countries in light of all what's going on in the region, what happened recently. Of course, it might be after the visit, but how do you see the timing of the visit by the President?
Well, I'll first start by an interesting timing and an optimistic timing for us as Egyptians, because we are ready to inaugurate soon the GEM, the Grand Museum of Egypt. And this Grand National Museum is the largest in the world, and it will have a very stately opening and inauguration, God willing. And the President himself has handed invitations to the heads of state of the 3 countries that he just visited, and Ireland tomorrow, hopefully, inshallah. So this is this, and talking about strategic level relationships and bilateral relationships, the Queen and King of Norway and the King also of Denmark has accepted the invitation, and maybe he will either come himself or he will send his Crown Prince as well. So, and this is a cultural enhancement, a positive development for us in Egypt on a cultural and international level. Of course, going back to politics, being the optimist myself, I always look that hopefully all tight, difficult, very touchy scenarios that are there around us in the region in the Middle East, the very impactful war in Ukraine, between the crisis between Russia and Ukraine, on a global level, and its impact on international trade, its impact on the financial situation of the world, considering the fact that as Egypt we need a lot of our food supplies coming from that region. It's very important for us to reach stability and peace on a global level. And as normally, as an Egyptian country, an Egyptian state, we always steer towards a peaceful solution and peaceful negotiations. We throughout our history, we don't resort to wars like some of countries or cultures around the world does. So this is, so the war in Russia, the fact that there is again a new American president, President-elect Trump, will have an impact, and we are on the lookout. We believe that it's going to intrinsically change the situation that is currently on the ground. Also, it's going to have a disruptive meaning, an intrinsic change of the situation within the Middle East as well, in terms of the situation between Israel and Gaza, between Israel and Lebanon, between Iran as a regional player, Turkey as a regional player as well. For all of this, we are really on the lookout.
We are in a very critical situation where many countries are actually intervening in many other countries. So we are in a very, we might say, chaotic scene. So how can we get out of this very alarming situation in the region, Dr. Mai?
Egypt has proven its balance, and it's very, let's say, the balance of gold with which the Egyptian government deals with regional and international politics. And we have proven the ability of Egypt to maintain its stability, to maintain its developmental figures, and to maintain, to push towards growth and economic development. And the fact that we are signing, we are not only talking about politics or talking about culture, but also signing, actually signing economic cooperative agreements between many companies within the 3 countries that the President has visited and is visiting, currently visiting at the moment, is proof that the stability that Egypt has shown within the past decades, all the figures growing and going forwards, sometimes a little bit slower than other times, but still the stability, and also more importantly the market of the Egyptian market, and above all the Egyptian people's intrinsic DNA and intrinsic intelligence and steering towards collecting together, standing together against hardships and against instability is a very, very important indicator of progress, of optimism, and of, inshallah, continued stability internally and hopefully within the region.
Yes, hope so, Doctor. Doctor, what about President Sisi's discussion with his European counterparts and state officials regarding the dramatic situation and escalation in the situation in Syria?
Egypt is taking always the side again towards peace, towards stability, and always Egypt sides with people as the ultimate power of any country. You know, in our constitution, the Egyptian people are the ultimate power, and so this is how we as a country regard any development that takes place in any country around the world. So this is how we approach bilateral and international politics and situations. We are again people of peace, people of peaceful resolution of any situation in general.
Doctor, also many files were discussed by President Sisi during his tour, like the war in Gaza, Lebanon ceasefire, the situation in Sudan, the security of the Red Sea, as well as the situation in the Russian-Ukrainian war.
The situation in the Russian-Ukrainian war, I believe that the fact that the Egyptian government has signed and has been officially a member of the BRICS countries that contains Russia as a core component shows our again our inclination towards peace, economic development with a strategic partner like Russia and the BRICS countries in general. So the stability of Russia and of its European partners in general and all of Europe is important to, it's a main outlook for our economic development and international relations. But this is something that is extremely important. And the fact that BRICS are trying to enhance local and internal relationships by accepting internal trade with local currencies is an extremely important point to look at for economic development, particularly that some of these countries, they require products and they give services that are required by another country within the BRICS as general. Again, it's a very optimistic, courageous, necessary step to be taken forward. And it's a step that will impact on international economy in general, more so towards an African developmental economy. The fact that we helped finance a new development bank that will also help finance local partners, local development partners within Egypt and Africa. It's a very important point. But I'll go back to the Scandinavian countries, the president visit, and the impact of that on the economic picture of Egypt within its also debt structure, relationship with the IMF, relationship with international donors, relationship with the Norwegian International Cooperative Fund. All of this, again, is enhanced, endorsed by the president's presence. It's enhanced and endorsed by their own heads of states and prime minister's enhancement. It's enhanced and endorsed by their local big businesses' investment within Egypt. So when you go, development is going hand in hand with politics. It's going hand in hand with culture. It's going hand in hand with strategic relationships and bilateral international relationships, all of this is really pushing forward towards growth and prosperity for both countries on the different sides of whichever table we're talking: Egypt, Denmark, Egypt, Norway, Egypt, Ireland, Egypt, European Union in general.
Yes. Dr. The presidential spokesman said that the meetings of the president tackled the ambitious economic development program implemented by Egypt, and he said that we are always eager that we attract great FDIs, as well as to attract the foreign companies to come and work in Egypt. What's your take on that, Doctor?
The fact that Egypt has a relationship with the IMF and is going forward towards all steps that are required towards the economic reform programs signed and endorsed by both Egypt and the bank and its international partners is extremely important. And the fact that we are taking steps, we are taking extreme measures, we are taking extremely difficult steps, but the stability and the belief of Egypt and the Egyptian people in their country and in their president and in stability and in going forward and in taking on some hardships in order to reap benefits within the medium term and long term to create a better country for our children and our grandchildren, to create better job opportunities for the coming decade, to particularly in the areas of technological enhancement and advancements of the world, namely AI. And it was a topic on the agenda of bilateral relationships with the various countries the president visited as well. We're talking about as well telecommunications, extremely important topic, and also opens up many job opportunities for young people of Egypt and for the labor market of Egypt. We're talking about transport, which the world cannot live without. We as humans, we need products being moved around in the world, and our strategic position within the global, whenever you see a map of the world, Egypt is really in the center, and whenever you see canals and the sea, you have the Mediterranean Sea, you have the Red Sea, you have the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and all of this really moves towards Egypt and its position within this really strategic position in Egypt and within the global map is extremely important. So logistics is extremely important. The agility of logistics is extremely important. And now I also tell you about the Generation Z, which are the youngsters of Egypt, the youngsters that have been born 1998, 1999, all the way to 2012 and 2010. These people today are beginning to get into the job market. They have just managed to graduate from their colleges, managed to get degrees, managed to finish their military service, and they are ready to get into the job market. Their dedication to cybersecurity, their dedication to issues related to privacy, their dedication to issues related to human rights, to equality, to all of this, Egypt has been working on and has been opening its doors for the beginning of the flow of the Generation Z and the jobs of the future towards a hopeful, optimistic future within all of these topics and all of these sectors that the President oversaw the signing of during his visit, his last European trilateral or tri-country visit.
Yes, indeed. Dr. May, how do the European states see Egypt as a reliable partner thanks to our position, as you have just been mentioning, our geostrategic role as a pillar of the security, the modernization, the peace in the region? How our relationships with our European partners is important to Egypt as well?
The fact that Egypt is opening up to the world, the fact that Egypt is saying, I am ready, I have worked on my infrastructure as a country, I have worked on transport, on roads, I have worked on services given to within those roads, I've worked on enhancement of internet services, I have worked on the digitization of the country, and moving it forward. The fact that we've worked on the laws and legislations of investment, the fact that the country is having the golden certification for investments of above a certain ticket size, and particularly in sectors among which is tourism, technology, transport and green economy. All of this really gives hope and gives a push towards more international bilateral agreements, and also the fact that Egypt has never defaulted in its modern history against any of its financial responsibilities. Again, also it gives hope. The stability, the near stability of the Egyptian pound, and because of the financial reforms taking place in Egypt and monetary reforms, all of this really gives hope, and with the willing of God, of course, and with the ikhlas and diligence and really the passion of the Egyptian people and the Egypt in general, will always give out a positive, optimistic, bright future, inshallah.
God's will, Dr. Maya, you are optimistic from the outcome of this visit by our president.
Allah yas'ad qalbik. Always, I'm always optimistic.
Great, and with this very positive note, we come to the end of this edition of our daily debate. Dr. Maya Batran, political, economic, and social studies expert, thank you so much for being our guest for tonight.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Our dear guests, our dear viewers, indeed a very important visit by President Sisi that started with Denmark, Norway, and started today a visit to Dublin. Indeed, a very important visit by the President to these European countries. With this, we come to the end of our daily debate for tonight. I'm Hesti Rabia. Many thanks for watching.